Comics Pro 2023 was last weekend, and the details are trickling out. One of the more interesting things is Diamond Comics are cutting their shipping costs by 40% over the next several months. And here to talk to me about that and how Diamond has been secretly ripping off retailers for years is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. I am not secretly ripping anybody off. I am secretly convincing them to come back to the show every time through, very subtle manipulation. Yes.
On the face of it, 40% discount in shipping costs sounds like a pretty good deal. It sounds like something they need to do to get in the game and start competing with the no shipping cost of Penguin Random House and the absolute amazing packaging and distribution that Lunar are doing right now.
It also seems like something they should have probably tried to do, 2 decades ago. Better late than never, I guess. They have a big hill to climb here, though, because, as you said, Penguin Random House, free. Lunar, dope shipping with almost no damaged product. Diamond, let's throw your shit in cardboard boxes and hope it gets there okay.
This is what Jeppy Family Enterprises Chief Sales and Service Officer Chris Powell had to say at Comics Pro 2023. In recent months, a number of the GFE companies have moved into shared workspaces that used to only be occupied by Diamond, and we will be reducing our space by 60%. With these savings and new contracts with UPS and FedEx in the works, we will recognize additional savings, and these savings will be passed on to our retailers. In April, we will reduce UPS charges on print goods by approximately 20%, with an additional 20% reduction in July. That means a box that currently costs $50 to ship to a retailer will be reduced to around $30, a significant savings.
Whoa. How do you get from we're reducing our office space so your shipping costs going down? Those things don't seem to have anything to do with each other unless your shipping was paying for their offices.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You imagine shipping costs are going to pay for the shipping and the handling and perhaps even the housing of the product before it gets shipped. It kind of makes sense that would all be included in there. But the actual overhead for Diamond's office workers is not the responsibility for the retailers to pay via shipping fees. It's absolutely ridiculous that way they would do this. But when they had a monopoly for so long, it kind of makes sense, They've probably been ripping these guys off for 2 decades now.
Once you get into paying for the accountant's office or Steve Geppy's office, well, hey, at that point, why not pay for his couch too out of the shipping costs? We don't know how far this goes. Whenever they were the monopoly of the industry, you didn't know. That was your only choice. Now that there's choice, all the truth is coming out, and it's starting to get really sketchy.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, including Brian Hibbs, were just furious that DC Comics abandoned Diamond during the beginning of the pandemic shutdown. When Diamond, by themselves, decided all comic book distribution would shut down in North America, DC Comics said, no, we're going to create an alternative. Obviously, Penguin Random House came along with Marvel Comics and other publishers after that. And it was needed because Diamond has been screwing over retailers for years now. They are working on paper-thin margins as it is, and Diamond were taking an even bigger piece of the pie than they were supposed to. They get a percentage of the cover cost. The publisher gets a percentage of the cover cost, and then obviously the retailer gets the rest. And they were taking an even bigger chunk out of there. And for anybody with a straight face to act like DC Comics intervening wasn't great for the comic book industry because now I have to go to 3 websites to order comic books. But now you're not getting screwed over on every single comic book you order. You're only going to get screwed over on the stuff you still order from Diamond, which shockingly some retailers are still doing for Marvel and the other publishers at Penguin Random House.
The best thing to happen to comics in the last few years was Diamond shutdown because it allowed a lot of new opportunities to come into the market, a lot of better competitors to enter the market, show how bad Diamond was screwing you. This is actually forcing them to change and make themselves that level.
Without what Jim Lee and DC Comics did by their own, they didn't consult with Marvel or anybody else. They went out there and made competitors to Diamond. They would not be getting reduced shipping costs to this day. There would be no attempts at improving anything from Diamond Comics. In fact, everything would just get worse. So I do bag on Jim Lee and DC Comics a lot right here on the channel, but I do have to tip the cap and acknowledge when they did something right because that was absolutely the right move. And Diamond Comics are being exposed for ripping off mom and pop retail shops. Just absolutely makes me sick.
This article here in general was really insulting to anyone that can see beyond their nose. Chris Powell spends a good portion of this article talking about how, oh, we're doing this, and we're doing this to improve things. But never once does Rich Johnson think to actually stop and ask, hey, what was ever stopping you from doing any of these things in a world when you didn't have competition?
I do believe that this was a presentation from Diamond to the Comics Pro retailers, not exactly a Q&A or like an interview, is the way I understood it.
Okay, well, at that point, I would
He could have followed up and said, hey, I tried to ask him these questions and he never responded, but I guarantee he didn't follow up.
No, they didn't follow up, and they probably didn't even care to because they can't see beyond their own nose. It seems like the only thing from what they're talking about that's kept Diamond afloat in the interim period here is Diamond UK and this Alliance Gaming thing that they run.
This is what the article said. The principal reason Diamond has survived the loss of DC Comics and exclusivity to Marvel Comics, IDW, Dark Horse, and more to distributors who offer better prices is Jeppy Family Enterprises Gaming Distributor Alliance. Diamond also still has exclusivity for DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, and more to the UK and Europe through Diamond UK, which makes up around 50% of their comics distribution business. Many retailers, for pure ease of use, have stuck with Diamond for Marvel and more, in total still representing around 40% of Marvel's direct market sales. And honestly, Doc, those are the dumbest people in comic books, and they're the reason Diamond Comics was able to walk all over everybody in the comic book industry, specifically retailers, for years upon years, because they enable them, because they just accept their shitty business practices.
Absolutely. And honestly, even after all this happens, they're still not going to leave. Even after all this news comes out, that 40% is still not going to leave because they're fucking lazy. I'm sorry. I love the local comic shop and I love comic retailers, but the world helps those who help themselves. And if you're just going to take the easy way out here and just keep going with Diamond because they're easy, they're convenient, you don't have to sign up for something new, you don't have to go to a second website. I don't really have. You
deserve to get your 1 in 500 variant cover to receive it with a statue on top of it and ruined.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you asked for.
You absolutely deserve that, and you deserve all of the other poor business practices because there are alternatives out there for you now, and you're just not electing to use them because, well, this is easier.
Yeah, Diamond Comics is absolutely pathetic, and every time you learn something new about the company, it shines a bigger light on what a mistake Marvel and DC Comics made, making Diamond Comics the monopoly for comic book distribution in North America. Obviously, Marvel started that road a long time ago when they bought up the main competition, decided they were going to be their own distributor, and then just dumped it after a couple of years.
Look, the reason why we got stuck with Diamond for so long is because everybody else decided to start a distributor war. You guys put yourself in this situation. You let a monopoly exist that just decided to get complacent, not improve anything for almost 25 years. 40% of you still decide that it's easier to just stick with the guy that screwed you for the previous 25 years.
And not to mention that there's more competition now, Doc. Manga is out there, and they are selling like gangbusters, and everyone knows where to find them. Steve Jeppy and Diamond Comic Books got complacent. They made no improvements whatsoever for decades upon decades, and now they're full decade behind the competition that's absolutely blowing them away and really hurting retailers nationwide.
So as long as there's still complacence on the retailer level, as long as there was complacence on the publisher level, this is what you get. Complacency breeds complacency and stagnation leads to death.
I've been talking about the issues with Diamond Comics Distributors for years here on the channel, and really, they have nobody to blame but themselves. Don't believe me? I actually broke it all down right here, how Diamond screwed the entire comic book industry and are hurting retailers every single day. Definitely check this video out here. There's also a link in the video description.